Which high-end Martin makes the most sense for you? Today we are comparing a Modern Deluxe with an authentic 1937 D-28, put them through the paces, and help you understand the differences, so stick around. Hey, you're watching Alamo Music TV. My name is Chris McKee.
I'm Cooper Greenberg.
We're here with Alamo Music in San Antonio, Texas, and you can find us online at alamomusic.com. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, turn notifications, like our videos if you want to support the channel. Visit our spring store, custom swag it out. Check out our podcast, the Fretboard Confessional. We should have a Fretboard Confessional Convention, wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, you can just buy things from us on our website, like these two stellar guitars. We have done a video where we were wearing similar clothing, and we basically announced that we are now Martin Custom Shop experts. They have recognized what was already happening, and so we have access to cool things like this custom 1937 D-28 Authentic in Ambertone. Very cool guitar. We like everything in that lineup. There's a huge value. There's a decided cool option about having old features, basically time-traveling guitars in a sense, and they feel very different and they sound very different. And so that brings up the logical conclusion, well, how does it compare with something else maybe in kind of a similar-ish price list, or basically something that represents a step up from a standard D-28 or HD-28 in Martin's lineup? So we've got
D-28 Modern Deluxe.
Now, I always like to take this opportunity to remind everybody why it's so confusing in Martin's lineup that there's a D-28, a D-28, and a D-28, and then an HD-28. So D-28s originally had herringbone. That's why the 1937 has herringbone, and that's why the Modern Deluxe has herringbone. But there was a time when it lost herringbone, and it lost scalloped bracing, and it went to straight bracing with no herringbone and dot inlays, and then the herringbone was brought back with scalloped bracing. But now we live in a world where there is a D-28 with scalloped bracing but no herringbone and dot inlays, and the HD-28 in the standard lineup, which is what the original HD-28 or what the original D-28 was. Once you go to the Modern Deluxe, they drop the H and just give you the vintage version done in a modern sense. Or once you travel back in time to 1937, you get the original D-28. Is that all clear?
We want to thank everybody for watching. Yeah, the only time you're getting an H is in the standard series in the HD-28 and HD-35 for those reasons that you just heard. But these are both D-28s outside of the standard series.
Right.
And they have herringbone. And that's pretty much it with the specs on these, is basically they have herringbone and they're the same.
Scalloped bracing and similar inlay?
Yeah. So a D-28 is a spruce and rosewood dreadnought.
In 28 dress.
In 28 dress.
Yep.
Now, the construction elements of both of these take them to sort of different ends of the spruce rosewood dread spectrum, and these are kind of your two options as you're taking a step out of the standard series. But you know you want a D-28. So in our video on that, we discussed talking Addy top, non-VTS, or non-torrified. Addy bracing, non-VTS, aka torrified. East Indian rosewood back and sides, hide glue construction, authentic neck profile. That one does have Waverleys on it, which comes into play with the comparison of this one.
Yep. Top thickness.
Authentic top thickness, glue in long bone saddle.
Authentic bracing, fabric side, all the little things. You lose a dot at the 12th fret.
Yeah.
To be authentic, you know.
You got to be authentic with that double dot.
You got to pay extra for the dot. Yeah, everything is basically built to spec as it would be in 1937, with the exception on the custom shop versions of having a truss rod in the neck. So that's, I think, beneficial if you want adjustability in the guitar. But the bracing, the voicing, the feel, the finish, everything else is old school.
Old school. It also has antique white binding on it.
And this one is amber tone, but you can get it in natural.
Yes.
You can get it aged.
Yes.
You
can get it amber tone aged.
Amber tone aged. Aged amber tone.
Yes. On this guitar over here, this is your one finish option. Nothing else. That is, as you can tell, a little bit darker, but that is a Sitka Spruce VTS top. So vintage tone system, torrefied, whatever you want to call it. This is Sitka top, Sitka bracing, both hit with the old VTS treatment. These are the most important part on the guitar.
Liquid metal bridge pins.
Liquid metal.
That's the silver bullet right there.
Yeah. Drop-in saddle, no long saddle. Binding on here is going to be flame maple, really nice. East Indian rosewood back and sides. We're working with the maple binding and then the sort of black maple fiber on all the adornments, right? And your purfling and your rosette and your HD zigzag backstrip. That's got an HD zigzag, right?
HD zigzag.
Dude, that's the only way to go. So neck profile in here is going to be a little bit different. This is the vintage deluxe neck profile as opposed to the authentic 1937 neck profile. Up on the headstock, you're getting gloss head plate as opposed to the satin on the standard with the abalone inlay on the script logo, gold tuners, Waverleys. This is protein glue attaching the braces on the guitar. It's not hide glue. It's like the protein that you get from like eating a fillet of salmon.
That's right. That's right. Just on the braces, where that's kind of primarily where it matters. But yeah.
So protein glue there, carbon fiber bridge plate. That's how you really know that you're gonna rock and roll with this thing.
This guitar's been to the gym that uses carbon fiber and has protein.
Yeah. This is the vintage deluxe neck profile is a little bit different than the modified low oval. It's got a little more V-esque, little more old school kind of vibe, but some may say a little bit slimmer than the modified low oval. That's definitely going to be a little bit thicker than the modified low oval.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're leaving the standard D-28 and you came across a fork in the road, which one of these would be the path less traveled?
That's a great question. I think this is the path less traveled in modern context.
Yeah.
But this is the blueprint by which all others followed. And to me, given people's affinity for vintage Martins, it is the one by which all are measured. So, if you talk about golden era, here it is.
I think that's fair because there are way less people saying like, oh, what about that authentic version? Part of that is the price. That is a more expensive guitar than this one is. But this seems to be a sort of sweet spot for a lot of people. The 0028, OM28, and D28. People are often choosing that over the standard version because the VTS on the top, the protein glue braces, some of the little different features, the neck profile that some may say is a little bit more comfortable for them, but also kicked up with the wood binding, the Waverleys, the little bit more pearl. It takes a guitar that 28 style is pretty simple.
Yeah.
You just get sort of like put a pearl necklace on the old 28, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it kicks everything up a notch, taking, again, this recipe is pretty much the same. And it's, are you diving into the classic or are you taking the new spin in the gastropub of, what it could be?
We do things a little differently around here. They both got a volute.
They do both have a volute.
I mean, that's really all you need to know. But as you can assume, VTS Sitka spruce sounds wildly different than Adirondack spruce. I played a similar thing on both of these. So get your earbuds in, connect the AirPods, put on the surround sound, but it's going to be pretty easy.
Get some of those Macintosh surround sound hi-fi speakers ready.
Marantz tube stereo on this one. Take a listen.
All right, there you have it. Cooper put them through their paces. They are different sounding guitars. There's something similar in each of them, but they have a kind of entirely different response and resonance to them. So
they do.
And they play very differently. By the way, after having held a few of those for the last, 30 minutes to an hour, this feels so thin. It's crazy.
Yeah, you're playing a Ibanez Geo.
So, yeah, someone just handed me a wizard neck. It's an ukulele. Yeah, it's weird because it feels like it's a narrower, like nut width almost.
Yeah.
Even though it's really just the profile of the neck being thinner.
Yeah.
The shoulders being gone that's crazy how much different it feels.
Yeah, both of these are going to be 1 3/4 inch nut width, but that one definitely is thinner, more modern kind of style.
Yeah.
This one, for your cowboy chords down here, it's not really that thick, but it's like just fuller almost,
Listen, I'm going to tell you the road I've traveled. There was a point where I thought thinner is better, and I wanted thin necks on my guitars. And I have to thank a certain Telecaster for changing that for me. Because I remember picking up a 52 Tele, and it had that big U-shaped neck. I was like, this is a great guitar to play.
Yeah.
And now I have quite a few guitars with thicker necks on them, and I really like that. This was built back when men were men, and women were women, and they could handle a thicker
Traveling
neck.
down a road here.
No, but I think initially the thickness of necks was probably to do with stability. Our build practices, our weathering of woods and everything, probably takes a lot of that away, particularly with adjustable truss rods. But it's a comfortable neck profile.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it. It's a comfortable neck profile. Thinner is not always better.
I think there's also, like when they were building these in 37, I don't think there was a ton of, I could be totally wrong because they were way ahead of their time, but now there's probably a lot more information about actual ergonomics, and I do think sometimes my hand gets cramped more on a really thin neck than it does on a thicker neck, and I think there's a sweet spot. I think this one lives within the sweet spot.
I believe that because if you think about how we've talked about this, right? You don't grab it like that. Most of the time, your thumb lives around the top shoulder or on the back of the neck.
Yeah.
And if there's too thin of a neck, you are having to pull
It's like you're
toward the fretboard more. And so, I think I've noticed the same thing playing acoustic and electric guitars. I've gravitated more and more to thicker necks. Now, there's a time and place for like really wide and thin necks, but that's for a particular playing style that's usually not built around chords at all. And so, I think that's kind of where it works in the compound of what feels good. So feel is very, very different, but the sound is very, very different too.
Mm-hmm. This one is an extremely light and airy resonant box. It's not boxy sounding, but it's like you are going to maybe never hit the ceiling of what it can like put back at you. The dynamic range is insane. On this guitar, it's similar. It's a dreadnought that, has a huge dynamic range, but it's almost like whatever the top is doing to sort of EQ that in the VTS sort of thing, you are getting what I hear to be a little bit more focused, sort of not toned down, but like a more refined kind of thing.
It's kind of hi-fi-ish in a way. There's definitely more of a treble response I tend to find generally on Modern Deluxe guitars versus standards or versus authentics or anything else. By the way, since we're on the subject of Modern Deluxe, we get this question a lot, at least I do, about the coloration on a top. When you take a top, I don't care what it is, and you torify it, you're doing with heat, you're trying to approximate what happens with age. And if you've ever looked at an older guitar, things that maybe aren't there when the guitar is new come out over time. Mm-hmm. So when we look at this and we kind of see a dark striation in the middle of the book match, that's why.
Yeah.
Because time would have brought it out anyway, but heat will certainly do it.
Which is cool because I think that Modern Deluxe guitars, there's so much more variation and character And so we get the one that we sell the most of would be the triple O and the OM, and every single one's got a certain look, and it brings out those differences in the spruce tops. They're choosing really pretty spruce for it, but that one specifically, like crazy medullary rays, a ton of silk that would come out for sure on your standard triple O 28 in many, many years, but these aren't toned like a standard series. So
Right.
it's a cool way to kind of give it a whole different aesthetic with the wood binding. It is sort of a modern, really tasteful sort of like you're showing off the wood a little bit more on that. Obviously, this one's got an amber tone, but the natural one, we had the D-18 in here. It's just a beautiful Addy top.
Yeah.
But that's more what your standard is going to look like down the road. But then you've also got the wood binding and all that. So
who chooses which one?
I think the Modern Deluxe is a fantastic. Both of these you have to have some money available to you to get one. But I think the Modern Deluxe is kind of a perfect gateway for people into Martins that may be more interested in an even more modern type of guitar. Because it's the neck's maybe a little bit more playable for everybody. It's aesthetically a little heightened, and I think it's got a really just sweet, refined, hi-fi sort of tone. So, one, this is for somebody that's like, I already got my standard, I want a little bit fancier version, but I'm not like going from a 28 to a 45, I'm going from a 28 to a kicked up 28. I think this one over here is for the person that's like, I already got my 28, but I want more 28.
The more knob.
Yeah.
I mean, they could be the first purchase for somebody too, rather than like the next step up. I tend to think if someone wanted something above a standard, both of these are at play. I think the customer for this, it's interesting if you think about where the Modern Deluxes came from. Before the Modern Deluxes, there was a vintage series, and they were all decidedly vintage spec guitars. Now, they weren't billed to vintage spec like an authentic, with all 1937 build practices and so forth, but they weren't modern style guitars. And those were replaced with the Modern Deluxes to be modern guitars that also have some vintage aspects to them. But, things like the carbon fiber bridge plate and the torrefaction, those are entirely new build practices. Things like the abalone, the gold frets, and the maple binding kick it up a notch. So to me, it's for someone who's looking for a fancier version of what you would get in the standard line.
Yeah.
That's effectively what they are. They are improved upon from a building practice. They are improved upon from an aesthetic practice. And I love the wood bindings on these. So and they're a little bit of a step up. I think what did we figure out? $800 to $1,000 more, depending upon which model it is the difference from a standard to a Modern Deluxe version of the guitar, generally speaking. Your mileage may vary. Check our website for the latest prices at alamomusic.com. But the Authentics, to me, have a very clear customer. That's someone who loves what Martin has created as far as the prototypical flat-top steel string acoustic guitar. They invented what we know of. And if you're coming to Martin for the history of Martin and you appreciate the sounds that are in your ears from records of the past and whatnot, that's the closest you can get to buying a vintage guitar without buying a vintage guitar.
Yeah.
And it's a lot less expensive.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit more than this.
A little bit more than that, but the real modern thing on this would be using East Indian and having a truss rod.
Yep.
And otherwise, it's pretty old school. And those are, the East Indian, way more affordable for anybody, and also way more affordable for maybe the environment.
Can I make another point on that? Arguably, better consistent wood.
Yeah.
When something is more available and it's responsibly harvested and grown, you can ensure better quality versus, it's exotic.
And we found some.
We found
a
some
in another corner.
Yeah, I'm not saying that old wood and Brazilian rosewood or whatever is bad wood. I'm just saying that there is some that's less than or not as great as others. That come out clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I think I don't. East Indian rosewood's a great tone wood. You know, you can go buy an Olson right now with a cedar top and an East Indian rosewood back and sides. It'll set you back $30,000. So
I mean, we've all done it. But
you know,
the big,
late night, scrolling on the internet.
Yeah, take the wood thing out of it. Really, the modern thing about this is the truss rod, and that's probably the greatest modern advent to any acoustic guitar. You know, any guitar. It's like, well, yeah, you want the truss rod. So.
Yeah, let's adjust for different string tension or environmental changes.
Yeah,
good idea.
So they're both good options. And you could have the same conversation about a D-18 or a 0028 or 0018, and I think the same argument stands true. They're both very, very good guitars, but you know, wood makes a difference on the sound, and other components that aren't wood make a difference, and it's about which one sounds and feels better to you because everybody's ears and hands are different.
I know which one you would get.
The D-18. I go D-18.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
But
no,
it'd be an authentic.
I'd go authentic, but
because you already did.
I did a little bit, but I think Modern Deluxe, every now and then, especially on the 000, it's just such a pretty guitar, and that's. I mean, I took that right out of the box today. That had not been opened yet, and like, man, that's a really nice looking guitar, and they're super easy to play, and I think the aesthetic choices aren't way out there to where it's like, oh, it's nuts. I mean, you can get a D-45 Modern Deluxe, but it's still very tasteful.
Yeah. No, I'm a big fan of both of these guitars. You know, I love the wood bindings on these. I think we've talked about, we've done our own version of Deluxes before. They're really fantastic guitars. And what's great is that there is a version of a D-28 for just about everybody. So, which one should you get? Should you need more information, you can find it on our website at
alamomusic.com.
It's the pregnant pause. That's what I love about it.
Expecting. Yeah. And you can
it's
look at...
anticipation.
Yeah, that's good for me. We get in multiple guitars sometimes at a time, and we photograph one for the website. So if you want to see everything we have available, please reach out because everything looks different, and we want you to know what you're going to get. And if you have questions, you can read the specs on our website, or you can just reach out to one of us or the other fellows that are here at the store, and we'll be happy to help you find something. And we ship all over the country, and sometimes you absolutely have a fantastic time every time working with Alamo.
Absolutely, every time. If you are seeing this video for the first time, you're new to our channel, make sure that you subscribe, turn on notifications, like our videos, send it out to your friends, your neighbors, and the people that you despise the most. Help us get to 200,000 is our next thing, but I want to get to 1 million subscribers. Really help get that guitar content out there, and we need your help to do so. So we appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.